don't know if everybody knows that her and Draco were brother and sister, actually live in Mace. When we went looking for the dogs to play the part of Beef and Shaker, I looked at probably 250 sibes and finally found two that, number one, looked the same, but also had some brains in their head. Sibes are they're notorious for being very aloof and would prefer to do it their way. So when we did the training with these guys, we had to make them think that it was their idea. They were doing all these stunts and stuff. After due south, Cinder went on to do agility, and the Siberian Husky is not known for staying in one area too long. So she did her master's in the Agility Association of Canada, and I think she was like the third side, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there, to earn her master's title. There's been a few more since her. They've decided that it was kind of a cool thing to see a side running in agility. Pictures that I have of her doing agility, she looks like she's smiling the whole time going around the ring. She had a ball. She thought it was a lot of fun. She especially loved, I don't know if everybody knows what an agility field looks like, but we have what they call an A-frame, and it goes up kind of on an angle just like this. So they run up it. Well, getting her off the top was always a challenge. She could see everything once she got up there. She wasn't willing to come back down. But she had a very good time. We missed Draco because we used to go over and have little play sessions together. He's been gone now for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. So does anybody have any questions on anything? Bella.
What sort of training regimen would you have? I mean, depending on the difficulty of the stunt that you'd expect the dog to perform?
Well, as an example, if we were teaching the dog to, say, go over to a table and put his paws up, we'd break it down into a few different steps, getting them to go from point A to point B first, and rewarding them for that, and then teaching them how to put the paws up on the table. And then you slowly put the two or three things together to get your full behavior that you were looking for. And with a Siberian, you have to make it fun. Training with these guys is not like training any other dog. They tune you out, and they will give you that wonderful husky huff, and they just blow the air right up their nose, and they have this little puffy finger that they give you, you know?
Can I just ask if anyone wants to ask a question? Can you step up to the mic in the middle, please, because they will quiet it back, so you could. No.
A little bit more comfortable in the chair. Is there anything else anybody wanted to ask about? But if there was other things on there, we would disguise it so that it was something they were allowed to have. There's not a whole lot that they're not allowed to have, really. She eats like we do. I cook for her every day.
Which scenes did you use Draco? Which scenes did you use Cinder for? How did you decide who would play the part?
When we got the scripts in, we would kind of go through the scripts and see what was best for each one of the dogs. Cinder on set was a little bit on the shyer side, so we used her for a lot of the running scenes where she had to run from point A to point B, run through the traffic, run through a crowd of people, that sort of thing. Draco, he was just a clown, and he ad-libbed, leave it. He ad-libbed so many times in scenes. I don't know if anybody happens to remember this one episode. Draco was walking along beside Ray, and I had sent him to go with him, and he dropped a bunch of folders. He had them in his hand, and he dropped some. They fell out on the floor. Well, Draco stopped, and he looked back at me as if to say, well, I don't know what to do now. Like, go with them, go with them. And he stopped, he picked up a couple of the folders in his mouth, and he proceeded to keep on going. The whole crew, we just sat there looking at each other going, oh my God. And when they finally called cut, the place just broke up. It was just way too funny. Cinder did the episode that we did where everybody was in the parachutes coming down. And we started off training her by just putting a harness on her. And Rick and I would just lift her up and put her down and treat her. Pick her up and lift her down, then we started rocking her. And then we got higher because just a few feet off the floor wasn't cutting it anymore. Once we had her used to the harness, then we'd hook her up to something much taller, like off the ground, and hoist her up and sway her. And she didn't care. She just kind of laid there, this kind of rock, saving my legs quite well. And when it came to the day of shooting, we put her up about 120 feet in the air on the crane. And we had her rocking before she went up. And then when they did the scene of the dog, it's supposed to look like the dog's coming down the parachute. This was her. Coming down this parachute. She gets to the ground and she just kind of stood there looking around. It was no big deal. We tried doing it with Draco and he was like, yeah. He wasn't too keen on that idea whatsoever. And one of the funniest things coming out to Kananaskis, where we actually shot those scenes, we left Ontario and it was pouring rain, absolutely pouring rain. We got off the plane and took these two out of their crates and walked them outside to 5 feet of snow. And the looks on these guys' faces was just like, oh my God, we've just died and gone to heaven. They had an absolute ball up there. Lake Louise, we took them off leash. There was nobody around, and we just let them fly, the two of them, wrestling and playing out in the middle of the lake on the ice. It was just amazing to watch them. Jumping, knocking a person down, that sort of thing. Rick actually would be the person. You know, we didn't want the dog jumping on him. We wanted the actor.
Can't sleep.
She's like a baby.
Oh.